Okay. Comprehensible input. People keep talking about it. Uh, the only thing you need to learn a language is comprehensible input. And you should read and acquire the language by reading, context, immersion, and so on and so forth. I've been trying to do this with Korean for 7 days. I know 7 days is not a lot, but it's been extremely frustrating. I've barely learned anything, and at the same time, I've tried memorization techniques for vocabulary with Hindi, and I've been doing drills for speaking, and my speaking is still like, extremely basic. I haven't learned much in terms of there's not much I can say, but I can recognize a lot of words. My vocabulary increased a lot. While for Korean, not really. I can kind of recognize some characters, and that's about it. That's what I got from comprehensible input. Not really comprehensible input, just input. The thing with input is that for the input to be comprehensible, you need to know enough words already. So my conclusion, non not very scientific conclusion, because I just ran this experiment on my own. But it's yeah, the conclusion is that it just doesn't work as the main way to learn a language. It's extremely slow. It's inefficient, and unless you already know a lot of the vocabulary in the text or in the audio, in the video, you will not understand anything or almost anything, and you will really not learn anything in context, because if you recognize one word out of 10, you're not really learning anything. You're just reviewing what you already know, and that's something comprehensible input is really good for reviewing, uh, for consolidating the vocabulary and the grammar that you already learned. But uh, to learn vocabulary, it's terrible. It's a waste of time. Even if you do hundreds of hours of input, you will not learn much vocabulary if you don't also do other things. So my advice is to start memorizing as much vocabulary as you can. Once you know the most common 5,000, no 5,000, 500, sorry, 5,000, yeah, learn them, but that's going to take more time. But the most common 500 to 1,000 words, that's enough to understand like more than half of the vocabulary when you're reading or listening. Then you can start doing input, and you will still struggle a lot knowing half of the vocab. But as a start, yeah, start memorizing hundreds of words, and input will get easier, more enjoyable, and more effective. But it's something that you should do not as the main thing you're doing, but as also like a reward, but mostly as a way to review what you've already learned. Most of the learning should be memorizing vocab. And if you want to work on your listening skills, obviously, then specific listening drills as well, active recall, retrieval practice, whatever you want to call it. But just extensive listening to podcast or radio, whatever, it will help. But just by doing that, you will not improve much if you don't learn a lot of vocab and learn how to recognize that vocab later when you're listening. So yeah, that's that. I'm dropping the Korean with input only experiment because it's a complete waste of time. And I want to learn Korean because I am going to Korea on holiday later this year. So yeah, I'm going to start memorizing massive amounts of vocabulary with associations, and the input is going to get much more comprehensible, enjoyable, and effective in a few weeks, simply by memorizing the most common 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 words, which I do in a few weeks. So that's that. Comprehensible input doesn't work on its own. It works as a way of reviewing what you've already learned. So do with this information what you want. That's my advice, and probably speak more languages than you. So you should probably take my advice.